Perfecto, gracias. Hola.
Hello.
Quería, en nombre de Turismo de Tenerife, darles
On
la
behalf of
bienvenida
Turismo de
y
Tenerife,
agradecerles
I
su
would like to
asistencia a
welcome
esta nueva
you
sesión de
today
hoy del primer
in this
Congreso
webinar
Internacional de la
of
Avistamiento
the first
Sostenible
International
en Tenerife.
Congress of Whale Watching in
Sin más, y
Tenerife.
para, y para aprovechar el tiempo, le doy
I
paso a
now
Mar
give
Ramírez.
the
Hola,
floor
Mar.
to Mar Ramirez. Hello,
Hola
Mar.
Aida, muchas
Hello,
gracias.
Aida.
Gracias por
Thank you
acogernos
very
en esta
much.
jornada más
Thank
del
you,
primer
all
Congreso
of you, for
Internacional de
being here
Avistamiento y
again today.
Observación, por impulsar esta iniciativa
Thank you
pionera
for
y que además
promoting
está
this
reuniendo
pioneering
a personajes muy
activity.
interesantes del mundo de la observación de los cetáceos y del conocimiento de
This
los cetáceos.
Congress
Esta tarde entramos de lleno en
is
una
a
mesa
meeting
redonda,
point
una
of
mesa redonda
different
en la que vamos a
important
tener
speakers
igual
all over the world.
decenas de visiones
Today
de
we have
cetáceos,
a round
de
table,
investigadores, de
a
defensores,
varied
de
round
empresas que
table
hacen
of
porque el producto
different peoples
ecoturístico de
who just
avistamiento de
want to
cetáceos
promote this
sea
whale watching
una
activity.
actividad sostenible y
They
un
want
reto
this
por
activity
superar
to be
y
a
sobre todo una
sustainable
fuente de
activity
oportunidades y un futuro accesible.
and
Para
an
esta
activity
jornada
with a
contamos con un
future.
moderador y un dinamizador de la mesa redonda
Today we
excepcional
have
que es César
a
Javier Palacios. Él es
wonderful
un naturalista, ante todo es
moderator, César
naturalista,
Javier
pero
Palacios.
también
He's
es un
a
periodista, un
naturalist
comunicador
and
excelente
an
medioambiental.
environmental
Él es
journalist
un
too.
enamorado de las Canarias, es un gran
He
conocedor de
loves
las
the Canary
Canarias, tiene
Island.
pasión por una de sus islas, Fuerteventura,
He's in
pero
love with
se nos ha
Fuerteventura
escapado a Cerdeña temporalmente,
and
pero se
now
nos ha
he's
escapado.
temporarily in
Ojalá que le esté
Cerdeña.
inspirando uno de sus nuevos libros, ya
We
lleva 20,
hope
y
Cerdeña is inspiring him. He has written over 20 books. Thank you very much, Mar. Thank you very much to all the organizers of these interesting projects. I hope this is just the first type of this Congress. We need more congresses like this one, and tourist is a very important invigorating activity, and cetaceans are very, very important, and we hope all over the world people promote this activity and promote the sea and a way of enjoy the sea. But first of all, we need to define what is ecotourism. And the ecotourism is that interesting in nature, but it is a type of tourist which also want to preserve and promote the way of living of people and the environment. And we want everyone to define ecotourism. We have a link on the social networks. Through Mentimer, we want to create a tag cloud in order to define the 5 keywords for ecotourism. It has been a long road. Before we ate whales, but now we pay for being on a boat and see whales. We have a lot of challenges nowadays, and for these reasons we have different speakers today. I'm going to ask them several questions in order to know where we want to go with this message of preservation. First, we have Higinio Guerra, which is the president of the Association for the Conservation and Preservation of Cetaceans in the south of Tenerife. And he's also a member of the entrepreneurs in the south of Tenerife. Higinio, more than 700,000 tourists goes out there to see whales and dolphins in Tenerife. It is one of the main economic activities in the island, with more than 26 million euros. It is a good activity. Well, hello everyone. Our whale watching model. Well, I have different opinions. Yes, it is a good model, but the problem is that we can't control the fraud. From our association, from ACEST, all our members, we are 22 companies. Almost 4 years ago, we created this association, and our main goals was to control this resource. We wanted to preserve the environment while practicing whale watching. And we wanted to have a control from the authorities, and we got it. Yes, we are doing it well, but the problem is with the greatest authorities regarding the sea, for example, the ministry. And nowadays we think the ministry is not doing well because the ministry has different tools in order to control the situation. They have vessels, they have police, they have the budget to do so. They even had a whale watching law from 1995 with different amendments in 2000. they have everything in order to regulate this activity, but we think the ministry is not doing well at the moment. We think penalties are not enough nowadays. So we think we partially are doing well, but partially the ministry is not doing well. So we are doing well, but there is still a long way to go. Yes, there is some fraud within this activity. It is a global problem, not only in the island of Tenerife, but worldwide. And this is a pioneering idea, not only in the Canary Island, but all over the world. And yes, it is very difficult to develop this idea. Well, we are going to see this later. Now, let's go to Las Palmas de Gran Canaria. We're going to talk with Chai, a researcher from the Interreg Marcet 2. And this project wants to promote a ecotourism type of project which just want to promote whale watching as a sustainable economical development. She's doing a doctoral study at the moment, and she's also a member from the University of Las Palmas de Gran Canaria and a member of the University Institute for Tourism and Sustainable Economic Development. Tai, could you please tell us which type of tourist we can find regarding the whale watching? Which is the profile? Well, the whale watching tourist has developed all over the years, hand by hand with the development of this whale watching activity. The profile was an ecotourist profile. The tourist just wanted to get in touch with nature, but now the profile is more different. We have new type of clients, and sometimes they are not specialized at all. In the Macaronesia, we have carried out a study in the Canary Island and in Madeira, and we have discovered some difference. The general tourists are located in the Canary Island. Eric Hall published a study, and he also discovered this type of tourist, but we also have a tourist profile involved in this activity who just want to preserve these animals. These specialized tourists, they represent a 30% of the whole tourist. But for example, in Madeira and Azores, they represent more than 65%. The general profile of tourists, the amateur tourists, in the study we carried out related to the Marcet 2 project, we identified a profile of tourists who just wanted to enjoy navigation. They just want to enjoy the trip, and they don't even want to learn about cetaceans. And normally their interests are not related to the preservation of the cetaceans, because they just wanted to see the animals as close as possible. They just want to see the dolphins jumping, for example. And one question, Chai. Which is the trend nowadays in the Canary Islands? the type of tourist, it is a more specialized tourist or not? Which is the trend nowadays? The trend nowadays, I think, is a more general tourist, particularly because the Canary Island is a sun and beach destination. But from the administration and the government, we are all doing a great effort to renovate this image, and we want to be a sun and beach plus destination. We want to promote nature, and well, we think this is going to be the trend, but we hope this trend is going to change, and we hope we can have a type of tourist similar to those of Madeira. Yes, definitely. I think tourist agencies are going to have an important role in this change. Now we are going to give the floor to Susana Conde. She's the founder of Genuine Spain, the first Spanish tourist agency specialized in sustainable tourism. He's an entrepreneur. He started more than 11 years ago in Spain and in Mexico. He's a senior consultant. She's specialized in marketing, in entrepreneurship, and in sustainable tourism. Susana, the tourist wants to pay more for this environmentally friendly activity. Thank you very much, Susana. Thank you for this Congress. I'm reflecting about this question, and well, we have to bear in mind that eco-friendly activity does not involve much money. This is the starting point. And well, now we have companies dedicated to whale watching. They are doing well. They have biologists on board. They have good practices, and they promote good behaviors, and they promote the preservation of cetaceans. Unfortunately, I normally go to the Canary Island. I love Fuerteventura. I go there every year, but unfortunately, I haven't done a whale watching activity in the Canary Island yet.
La anterior compañera, ¿no? Yo me ubico o creo que voy en coherencia un poco con
I think I preferred eco-friendly type of tourist, and I think this type of tourist is not located in the Canary Islands nowadays, and this is why the authorities in the Canaries need to change this type of profile. Apart from that, there are some markets which are well aware of this situation, and they want to pay more for this activity, but there are only some markets like this. For example, in the north of Europe, in the States, in Canada. And they promote these guidelines during the whole trip, but nowadays in Spain we can't respect all these guidelines, and we need to work still a lot in order to meet all these guidelines, as we already said. Well, thank you for your words, for your hard words, but thank you very much, Susana. It is true, in Spain, tourist is very, very important, but for everyone knowing the Canary Island, they know eco-friendly activities are all over the Canaries, and for example in the Patagonia, how things are carried out. Our next speaker is Ricardo Orri. He is located in the Valdés Peninsula, a wonderful place. He's a professional diver. He just wants to preserve cetaceans. He has created the marine station Comersoni. And well, Captain, dear Captain Orri, the first question will be, do you think whale watching can cause environmental problems or preserves the conservation of the environment? Hello, how are you? Well, we think whale watching and dolphin watching, first of all, it was considered an activity with a great impact on the environment, but we discovered it was a positive impact. At the beginning, people didn't realize it was going to be a positive impact. First, if we talk about the amount of animals, the rates are growing. So we think this activity is not having a negative impact on the number of animals. Normally, year by year, the number of animals in the area is increasing, but particularly I think this activity started to create a good impact on the quality of living, on the way of living of people. In this area, in the Valdés Peninsula, our tourist rate was 0. In spring and summer, we only had tourists in February or March, but in the last year, our main tourist season is in winter and in spring. So it is an activity with a positive impact in the population, and things are carried out well or not well. First, we started to create these activities and then we started to develop them. First, we regulated the activity, and little by little, we started to develop the activity with some licenses. At the beginning, almost everything was forbidden, but after some studies, we discovered there wasn't a negative impact, so after the regulation, we started to develop the activity. And everyone tried to respect the guidelines, both the owner of the company, the masters, everyone. I think I have given an overview. What cetaceans think? Yeah, we go to the sea everywhere and we have discovered some behavioral changes in cetaceans. We give researchers all this information, and I think this is a good activity. We all normally come from fishery, And now we have developed a good activity. We have carried out several researches, several projects. But the most interesting thing is that from all this whale watching, we have asked several questions to researchers regarding the changes in the cetaceans' behavior. But the truth is that behavioral changes actually exist, and the reasons may be different, but we just warn scientists and researchers. We warn them about these behavioral changes, the sea conditions, for example. If we see something different, we warn scientists. One question, and this behavioral change is a positive change or a negative one? Animals are behaving in a different way. It is positive or negative? What do you think? Well, I think it's a positive change. For example, sea wolves, whales, seabirds, after so many years of a good environmental behavior, I think these animals are used to see the boats and the vessels. So a mother with a calf, before the mother tried to protect the calf, and we couldn't see the calf at all. Throughout the years, the calf gets closer to the boat and the mother doesn't care. And scientists think they are used to people and they are used to boats. Mothers doesn't care about mothers don't care about boats. They are used to them. For example, in Puerto Marín, with loads of boats, the animals stay around the boat. They don't care at all. So the whales in this area doesn't care about the presence of boats. But let me say, if a boat is chasing the whales, if the boats are interfering in mating, or if they are disturbing whales, this is a different thing. But all the companies dedicated to whale watching, they have licenses and they just want to work well and to protect these animals. We have a farm for reproduction purposes of sea wolf. We see everything. We see birth, we see all the process, and we see different type of behaviors. And for these animals, they are totally used to see us. They are used to see us. So they don't care about our presence. So you are doing well, of course. But if things are doing in a bad way, I think people will lose licenses. Higinio, I'm looking at you, and yes, definitely what Ricardo is saying is that in this part of the hemisphere, we just want to promote respect, awareness. We want tourists to be aware of the situation. We want to inform them about whale watching, about the environment. We give them information about cetaceans, about whales, about nature in general. And we also give them information about turtles, about jellyfishes. This is our work here in this special conservation area. But I think, well, if people are doing well, you would like these people to lose the license. Yes, but we have to be legal and to have a license. But the problem is that these people who are illegal and they don't even have a license. As I previously said, first the activity was regulated and then it was commercially developed. So, well, the state, which was the responsible of managing this activity, the state has all the tools in order to manage this activity. So first there was a regulation and there the activity was developed. Vamos a decir, castigos no sería la palabra, pero bueno, hay una fuerte fiscalización sobre la actividad. And the activity is strongly controlled here. So if the companies are legal and if they have licenses, it's okay. People working in this activity, they work because they are interested in this activity. They love what they do. And they defend this activity. And the only way to remain in this activity is complying with regulations. And we didn't have to compete with other sector because the number of boats on the sea at the beginning was 0. And the problem here is totally different. First, everyone thought it was going to be difficult. Just go out there was difficult, but the authorities are doing well and they are controlling the behavior of companies out there. There are some people, some illegal people, but in the main areas, everything is legal, I think. Well, there is a difference between the Canary Islands with these tourists with boats and to swim on the sea, and then we have whale watching in the Valdez Peninsula and in the south of Argentina. The thing was totally different. You first started with the whale watching. We want to talk about challenges, and I think, well, Chai and Susana, we talk about sustainability, but are we explaining this sustainability concept well? There are just people who go out there and they just don't care about what they are going to see, but I think it is important to explain tourists what they are going to see. Chai, what do you think? Well, I think our challenge is to design a new model for these varied tourists we have here. We have a profile. We know who they are, and we know why they are carrying out this activity. We know their interests, And now we are trying to adapt this whale watching activity to this profile of tourists. We don't want to undermine the essence of the activity. We want to enjoy nature. I don't know if Susana agrees with me. I hope so. We want to adapt this training, this information, this briefing given to tourists before or during the activity, and we want to adapt the activity to tourists. So we want this specific profile of tourists to be trained and to be educated. And we also want to encourage the general type of tourist to love this activity. Whale watching companies are training tourists, but from the information we have collected, not all tourists are interested in this training. Yeah, but you are talking about when tourists are on board. But before going out there, are you doing well in explaining this activity to tourists? Well, in the Canary Island and in other places, they have the same difficulty. First, they have the ordinary tourist, and then we have the other sustainable type of tourist. This is the truth. Well, I go to Fuerteventura every year, and every year I try to find sustainable and eco-friendly activities. Some years I have gone to Lobos Island, and I was terrified because the island was full with poachers, and this is a vicious cycle, because this type of experiences are not for the profile of tourists who care about the sustainable tourism. And this is not a good point for our country, for Spain. I think what we have to do is that local companies which want to strengthen this sustainable activity and which want to promote these activities with better behaviors, these companies, I think they have to invest in a good, sustainable model. I think it is better to have 10 tourists than 40 tourists on a boat. I think this is the type of model we need to have in order to have a balance between natural model, between a natural model and a financial model. And I think with this type of model, companies will be more competitive, and they will get to more type of tourists. For example, the type of tourists we have in Genoa in Spain. Yes, I think in Fuerteventura they are doing great. And in Canary Island, they are working little by little on this activity. And this type of tourist is a common type of tourist, not only in the Canary Islands, but also a world. But for example, in 2014, Higinio, there were 30 licenses for whale watching, but now in the last 5 years we have 70 licenses. So this could have a negative impact on cetaceans. What do you think? Yes. This is why we created our association. First was the control, and then the sustainability. Here in the southwest of the Canary Island, in the ACEST, in Tenorasca, we have 2 licenses to carry out the activity. First, the permission from Miteco, and this is a fundamental permission, and then we need to have the blue flag awarded by the government of the Canary Island in order to carry out the whale watching activity. These 2 licenses are key licenses. So regarding your question, well, we wanted the ministry, which is like the owner of all this Tenorasca area, we wanted the ministry to stop issuing licenses under no control. If a company asks the ministry a license for whale watching, this company was awarded the licenses. But the ministry didn't care about sustainability, about the type of vessels. So we had a red line. And we asked the ministry for a moratorium, but the ministry didn't carry out a carrying capacity study. We didn't know if we had gone too far or not. So since August 2019, our association and Turismo de Tenerife help us a lot, because Turismo de Tenerife is an organization with no influence on the SEC area, and this organization help us a lot. So our association and Turismo de Tenerife, we got this moratorium, and we hope the ministry is carried out this carrying capacity study. So I don't know exactly if licenses are too much or not. We depend on this study, and we hope the study defines if this moratorium is okay or not, or if we have to define more the activity. And we can't do this, and Turismo de Tenerife can't do this either. So we are waiting for the ministry, which is like the owner of the area. So this study needs to be carried out. All biologists, all scientists, all university researchers, everyone participating in this Congress tell us exactly the same. From this carrying capacity study, we will be able to define more the activity, as Chai already said. We will define this eco-friendly activity in depth. So this model will be a sample model for other places. And Susana, this whale watching product How could we create a sustainable model? Well, we don't really know with this situation during the pandemic. We don't know which type of tourist will arrive to Spain in the next month, but we think tourists will value a lot relaxing experiences, not crowded situations, more exclusive and private situations, and they will value all sustainable activities, local companies, and I think tourists just want to preserve the natural heritage of the Canary Islands, for example. So we need to focus on all these areas, particularly for regarding the international travelers. Regarding the national travelers, we don't know yet. So the national traveler is not interested at the moment in this heritage. But well, let's see what happens with the international travelers, if they are the first in promoting this activity, this sustainable and quality activity, these exclusive and calm and relaxing activities. And all these activities are going to benefit this product in the Canary Islands. Yes, this is very interesting. The pandemic is going to change us forever. For example, being on a small boat with a crowded boat and crazy parties on a boat, I think is going to take us some years to do this again. So I think quality and sustainability is going to be important for us in the next month. So Chai, I wanted to ask you, even if these eco-friendly destinations are not so important, I think population are more aware of sustainability, of the importance of sustainability. Well, in our case, we don't have much information regarding this, but there are some studies confirming that international trends aim at preserving the environment and preserving animal well-being and even our own well-being and our social responsibility. As I already said, tourists are able to recognize the importance of protecting cetaceans. In the Canary Islands, when we ask tourists, they identify and they totally agreed with us. It was necessary to create special conservation areas, and they also understood an amount of the ticket, of the tour ticket, should go to protect this area, and they thought the government should take some measures to regulate the activity. After a study, we discovered that an emotional link with the experience could have an impact on how people change their behavior, but we don't really know at the moment the conclusions. Nowadays, we think people are interested in protect the area. There are some surveys saying if tourists are more interested in beaches or in nature, and they think normally nature is more important than beaches, and they are aware that nature is important, and they are more aware of the bad condition of our seas, and they are aware we need to protect our seas. Yes, we know that, but I think regarding whale watching, we have an important challenge on that. There is a difference between the interest of tourists and their expectations regarding the activity itself. Tourists just want a close activity to the island for a long time, but this is regulated. For example, we can just be sometime with the animal, you can't swim with them, you can ride a dolphin, of course. So this is a problem. I think zoos and aquapark have had a negative impact on this activity because whale watching is not an aquapark, of course. Yeah, even films like that of Willy, for example. Yes, all these parks and films have had a negative impact. I want to do a contribution. I totally agree with Higinio because the carrying capacity is fundamental to know the situation. If we don't have this information, we don't really know what direction we must take. What I would like to say, Susana, is that our vision here in the Valdés Peninsula regarding whale watching is that we want to meet expectations, but with not so many trips. And we wanted to have a balance between sustainability and economics. So if we have a big vessel, the quality of whale watching is not less. We have small boats too, and we even had micro whale watching. We had a 4-meter boat with only 2 people. They pay a lot to live the experience. And in order to carry out the activity, we need to know the carrying capacity. If we own a license for whale watching, this doesn't mean you own the activity. I mean, you have to carry out this activity in a good way. For example, when I took 2 people in this boat, in this little boat, I knew that I wasn't taken 40 people, and these people always stay in hotels, they go to restaurants. I was aware on this situation. So we definitely need to find a balance between economics and sustainability, as I already said. We need to define the profile of passengers we have, and we don't mix them. It is totally different. Biology student and his expectations, and some students from the secondary schools. The expectations are totally different. We organize trips with different type of tourists. They come here all over the world doing a great effort. So we have different type of trips, and we try to manage the situation, and we want to take advantage of the resource. We want to manage the amount of people on the boats, and we want to comply with the law, obviously, either for small boats and for big boats, and with a maximum of 70 passengers. So first, what we do is to define the expectations of passengers, because they come here with a great influence on publicity. They just want to see a whale jumping, for example. But nowadays, our our profile of tourist is worship, is well educated, sorry. And we are trying to attract other type of markets. For example, in the Chubut province, this province is in charge of regulating the whale watching here, and they develop a strict regulation. A strict regulation regarding disabled people. So this is how we try to create an activity for different type of profiles. We also have senior tourists. They usually come here in close groups. They are totally different from young people, and we try to regulate schedules as much as possible. And well, this is what I just wanted to say. And in all our trips, our main purpose is to regulate the interpretation. We give information to tourists, but not so much information. Passengers already know the weight of whales, the size of whales. The master just explains the whales' behaviors, for example. And it is not the same a person before going on board than after the trip. After the trip, this person is totally aware of the situation, aware of the environment. And this moment is very important for whale watching after the trip, because after this activity they are totally aware. They are totally aware of the importance of preserving the activity. And Higinio, yes, I would like to say, here we have an important resource to explain whale watching to tourists. And this is our sustainability charter for whale watching. This is a key tool for us. And companies explain this charter to passengers. And this tool helps us a lot to define the profile of tourists we have here in the Canaries. Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, you know, we have a chat and people are asking some questions, but we also have a tag cloud, and we want people to give us some words about ecotourism. I think we can share the slide. Well, here we can see some words. The most important, well, the most important is respect, preservation, emotion, sustainability, compromise, education, many challenges. This is a survey, and this survey makes us think about sustainability. Well, we're going to start with the question. We could talk a lot about all these words, but first Susana said some words about, well, she thought the Canary Islands weren't a sustainability place. Well, there are many people who agree with that. Tourists are not interested sometimes in ecotourism in the Canaries. They just want to see some animals or go to the beach. But Susana Pomar asked, well, why do you think tourists don't think in the Canary Islands as a sustainable destination? Well, the truth is that it's not only the Canary Island, it's the whole Spain. We are a #1 destination, but we are a #1 destination related to other tourist model, unfortunately. Here we have speakers who know that. We have been working for years in order to change this situation. We have a lot of initiatives, a lot of good initiatives in the Canary Islands. There are some destinations, for example, in La Gomera, in La Palma. They are working together in the European Charter for Sustainable Places. But unfortunately, the Canary Islands and Spain are not places for sustainable tourists. For example, an American tourist will not think in the Canary Islands as a sustainable destination, for example. And this is a challenge, and this is a very interesting challenge, but we need to make a great effort. I have been working on that since 11 years, and I just sell this type of sustainable trips to tourists, and I think we have a great potential, but we need to do a great job in order to change the situation. Ricardo already said that, Higinio too, but we need to be aware of the situation, and we need to explain the situation to tourists. We are not able to meet the expectation of these tourists who want to come to Spain to enjoy sustainable activities. For example, there are German tourists who want to come to Spain to practice sustainable activities, and the same applies to British, French, Nordic tourists. So we need to invest in this type of tourists. And I totally agree with what Higinio said. We need to ask Cabildo, authorities, and ministry for greater regulation. We need to ask them for more investments in this regard. We are not interested in the mass tourist anymore. We need to invest in sustainable tourists. And this both type of tourists can be developed. We can go to the beach and we can practice sustainable activities. I have a question for Higinio from Sergio David Hernandez. How will whale watching activity improve? Could be improved in the Canary Island? Well, what do you think, Higinio? First, in this regard, I think it is important to change the image we have. Turismo de Tenerife has helped us a lot, is in line with our opinions and abroad we are not seen like a sustainable destination. As I already said, we need to have regulations and we need to have support. We need to show that whale watching is an important activity. It is a well-regulated activity, but we need to apply these regulations we already have. I will start from this point, and then I will carry out a carrying capacity study, as I already said. With all these points, we could have 100% ecological activity. But well, the chat people are saying, are telling us about the carrying capacity activity. But some people think it is impossible to regulate the amount of tourists in this boat. We are talking about 20 million tourists a year in the Canary Island. Some people think we can't regulate the amount of people. Yes, I definitely think if we do this in the national park, why can't we do this on a boat? Well, I'm a diver. I'm a sports diver. I have a diving academy, and as a Ricardo, I was a professional diver for a long time, and we had a very, very good example. And the example is el Mar de las Calmas in El Hierro. This is a natural reservation, and there are only some divers a day. So I think it is not difficult at all. I think it would be stupid not carrying out a carrying capacity study. And I definitely believe we can regulate the amount of tourists. It doesn't care the amount of tourists. But in order to carry out the activity, we can define the profile of tourists who is interested in whale watching. The profile of tourists who is really interested in whale watching. And we need to prioritize the type of tourist who is really interested in whale watching. And yes, and this will value the activity, the whale watching activity. Not all tourists are the same, of course. One question. Gisa Starning for Ricardo. I understood the amount of whales was decreasing in the Valdés Peninsula. Yes. The question could be answered. Well, the amount of whales is not less in the Valdés Peninsula, but when you read a publication, you could see the growth rate was 7%, but now is 4%. This doesn't mean we have a less number of animals. When we have a few animals, for example, there are 2 calves and we have 20% more of this population. So the amount of animals, for example, in 2019, the amount of animals was unusual. There were a lot of animals. I couldn't enjoy this moment because everyone was happy and everyone thought this was the result of a good policy, but I guess this huge amount of animals was there because of an external reason. There were new animals and there were animals which are usually in the area, and we didn't know why these animals were there. And this could had also happened in 2019. For example, they just go to other places. When we are talking about the Valdés Peninsula, well, whales don't live the whole year there. This is just a passing place. Well, the census explained us the amount of animals during the whole season. Around 1,800 animals in 2018 and 1,200 animals in 2019, for example. Well, let's go. And seagulls also have an influence with calves too. It is an important problem we have here, and this is related with all the garbage we have in the area. And seagulls bite the mothers and bite the calves too, and the animals are hurted. So well, it is necessary to manage all the garbage in the area, I think. Yes, this problem is being resolved at the moment, for example. Seagulls, the amount of seagulls is not increasing at the moment, but yes, seagulls try to eat different type of food, and for example, nowadays they have chosen calves. For example, we have calves with a lot of injuries on their back, for example. And for us, it is an important problem. And this is the most important problem whales are suffering at the moment. But well, this problem is not linked to tourists, actually. It's related to bad management of landfill. Sorry, Ricardo, we are going to follow with the chat questions. Mercedes Reyes from Whale-Wise Ecotours of the government of the Canary Island. She says, well, ecotourism is a well-demanding activity regarding whale watching, but the problem could be how to contact this type of tourist. Other comments from Chalo Ormazábal. I would like to ask Ricardo, please tell us more about the boat and about the engines. These boats could operate with sustainable energies, for example. How are you doing this in Valdés Peninsula? Well, the majority of vessels, most of them, or almost all of them,
Los motores fuera de borda tienen que ser 4 tiempos con certificación ambiental o pueden ser de 2 tiempos.
Use outboard motors.
Eso es una regulación que ha puesto el Estado respecto de
and they are regulated by the government nowadays. Our vessels, which is the highest, first we had a sail, but passengers were not interested at all in this model. They just wanted to see whales and they didn't care about the sails at all. In summer, we had other type of tourists who was interested, but whale watching tourists were not interesting at all. We know there are electric engines too, but now for an electric motor, for an electric engine, we need to charge the batteries and we will have losses. Emma Mora asked if whale watching could be carried out from a sail boat. Virginia asked if in Tenerife there are some vessels like that. Yes, we have some vessels like that, but the problem is that these vessels can't control if an animal gets closer. For example, if a short-fin pilot whale gets closer and the vessel can't react with only a sail. The theory is a great theory, but it's not useful. Regarding sails, this is not a good result. Government and authorities were thinking about using sails, but it was not useful. Every species needs to be treated differently. Not every cetacean behaves in the same way, so every species needs to be treated differently. In the Valdés Peninsula, we have discovered that silence is very important for cetaceans. We could think silence is important, but the sea is very, very noisy. So the animal feels everything. And in our whales, we our whales need to listen to sounds. And Nereida Alonso also asked a question to Higinio. Could you please tell us more about the Sustainable Charter for Whale Watching? It is important for companies to join this initiative. Yes, as I already said, this in our boat, for example, in the briefing given to the client, the first thing we do is given information like the sustainability charter, and the two most important things is the Miteco and the blue flag, as I already said. But these two things don't include how to protect the environment and how to use the product, but this sustainability charter for whale watching does include all these items. Every whale watching company could use this sustainability charter in order to work with transparency, for example, in order to promote the sector as better as possible, for example. Other principle is taking care of the marine environment, for example, and this is important in order to explain this concept to the local community. This is not a resource just for tourists. In our association, we have a motto saying that it is important to explain this important resource we have to local communities, because if local community is not aware of this resource will never be protected and will never be defended. So it is fundamental for local community to be aware of this resource, and the Sustainability Charter for Whale Watching is a great tool. Another principle of the Sustainability Charter is to value the wonderful environment we have here. Whale watching must show tourists the importance of the environment. We need to value the environment, and we need to value the environment with legal boats and not with illegal boats and companies. This is the most important motto we have. We have local species here, for example, like the common bottlenose dolphin or the short fin pilot whales, and the Sustainability Charter for Whale Watching is the most important tool we have. For me, it's a key tool, and it is also very interesting to explain our visitors the importance of waste collection, for example, the use of plastics, recycling, the use of local products. For example, this sustainability charter is fundamental. In the chat, Mercedes Reyes also asked, illegal boats are being reported. Well, this is a contradiction, actually. On the one hand, the authorities has an agreement with the ministry, but the problem is that, yes, these illegal companies are being reported by everyone, even our association. But the problem is that here we have SEC areas, a special conservation area from the Natura 2000 network. We have everything in order to protect this. But we need the ministry to carry out the complaints. Which is the price? This is a low price, and maybe this is against whale watching itself. I don't know, Susana. Yes, I would like to say regarding this last question. Well, I have carried out whale watching activities in the Arctic in an electric boat, an eco-friendly activity. And yes, we definitely want to pay more to carry out this type of activities. And I paid 66 euros for whale watching. For example, in the Canary Islands, there are some companies who ask for 15 euros. So the type of companies are totally different. And like Higinio said, companies need to value what they have, the resource and the environment in the Canaries. Well, we need to close. I would also like to talk about cooperation between the different places. These ecotourist activities are carried out. It is important to go to a place, and well, if you have been go to the Valdez Peninsula, you could also know that if you go to Sardinia or if you go to the Canary Islands, you could do the same. So it is important to make use of synergies. And it is important to cooperate between the different whale watching places. I think it is very interesting. Thank you very, very much of the speakers, the attendants. And now I'm going to give the floor to Mar. He's going to close this session. I don't know if you're going to give us an overview, Mar. Mar? Yes, here I am. This has been a very emotional meeting. Well, you have done a great job. You have talked about important topics, but what Higinio said at the beginning of his presentation is the carrying capacity. This is essential in order to get a close idea of mammals, because mammals could even leave a place if they are disturbed. For example, fraud is also an important topic. There are some companies which just wanted to make the most of the company, who just want to make money, even in Norway, as we said yesterday. And what Higinio said, it was very important. There are 22 companies which just wanted to educate people to have a sustainable model, and we need to support these people. They just want to protect the environment. And I think these companies are fundamentals in order to protect the environment and protect the animals. I think the involvement of the ministries and authorities, it is very important, especially the involvement of Turismo de Tenerife, for example. And as Chai said, I love your presentation, your project. I love your effort in order to try preservation, research, and financial and ecological development. The information is very important. The difference between the general type of tourist, this 30%, versus the type of tourists in the Azores, which a higher percentage, this type of tourist, which is very interested in the sustainable model, 65%. We also want this percentage in the Canary Islands. The administrations have carried out an important job and great efforts. And Chai also said we want to raise emotions and we want to raise awareness. And we hope in the near future, we hope to have a change in behaviors. Thank you very much for your emotional talk, Chai and Susana. You always have a real vision regarding ecotourism. Your vision is really good, really complete, and you always encourage us with your words in order to carry out a relaxed and a calm type of tourism. We need to have eco-friendly interests and an eco-friendly policy, both from a financial and a sustainable point of view. Thank you, Susana, for your job, and thank you for your projects. And finally, Captain Pinino, you are a great example. Your place is a great example worldwide. And thank you very much for your formula. It is very important to have good regulations and good policies, and to have carrying capacity studies. And this tool could have a positive impact. Whale watching could have an important and a positive impact on the local communities if this activity is carried out in a respectful way. Finally, I will mention 4 words: respect, preservation, emotion, sustainability, and education. And César said we need sustainability, and we need sustainability in all levels, but whale watching is an ally. In the Canary Islands, we have this tourism, and we need this tourism to become an ally, and we need to create a dynamics. We have different examples of sustainability. I already know them, but we want eco-tourists, and these tourists chose us because we are an eco-friendly destination. Thank you for your talks. Thank you for this roundtable. And tomorrow we will have a networking session. This is the second session. This is a unique opportunity because we could meet people from all over the world. We could create collaborations, and the Congress is just for us to create networks. So you can register on this session, and on Friday we we'll have the last session, and on Thursday we will have new chats, new talks regarding the protections of the seas. Thank you very much, Mar. I could just mention one well. When you just leave a boat after watching whales, your life completely changed. You have a totally different vision, and this is what we have to explain people, our friends, our families. This is the most important advertisement we could have, both in the Valdés Peninsula, Galapagos, the Mediterranean, all these places. When you leave a boat, your life has completely changed, and this is very, very important, and we can't lose that. And we need to preserve this for our children to enjoy that. I have truly enjoyed this afternoon. Thank you very much. And thank you for loving the sea and for loving nature. Thank you, César. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Buena travesía a todos.
Good journey. Bye.